On this video, I'll be talking about my design process of the Namisa top. So this is one of my favorite summer tops, and I decided to actually share what I came up with when I was designing this top and how it all came together. So first of all, I'll start with the name. The name Namisa means give joy. And the reason why I called it Namisa is because it was such a lot of fun knitting it, working on the whole design, the yarn, everything just fell into place, and I really enjoyed working on this project. The yarn that I used for the top is called called Eco Cotton DK by Nurturing Fibres, and the color is London. I've got this little piece that I left here, and this is the color is basically some gray. It's a light gray, but they do have a much lighter one that's called Mist. So this is more of a medium gray when you're looking in terms of the colors that Nurturing Fibres has. It's a gray with some teal, lavender, and pink. So it's a very beautiful yarn. And the reason why I chose it instead of some more solid colored yarns is because I realized that the design that I was going to do was going to be very plain in terms of stitch work, just one by one ripping and stockinette, and I wanted the yarn to give it some life and to really pop and be the statement in the whole garment. So I ended up using this speckled yarn, and it really was a joy to knit. You know, the good thing about such yarns is that as you knit and you come across more colors, it just comes together very nicely, and I really loved that. So that's the yarn that I chose for this. It's a DK weight yarn and knits up very fast. Seeing that this is a very large garment, it really was a lot of fun to knit. So first of all, with this type of garment, the most important part is the fit, like your back width or your front width from shoulder to shoulder. So that's the most important part. It has to be fitted up here, or even have maybe 1 inch positive is at the most, but most likely you're better off with it being more fitted, and having some negative is maybe 1 or 2 inches. That really works very well. And then because it flows right above the bust, so the bust isn't really affected by the tight fitting ripping at the top. It just goes loose just above the bust and it flows out. So the idea behind this top was to make something that can be worn with jeans, with shorts, with regular pants, anything really, because of its flowy nature. You can just throw it just about over anything. So that's why I wanted to design something like this. So as with most top-down garments, you start with the back panel and then pick up stitches for the front. So the most important thing that I want to highlight here is that for both the back and the front, you work in 1 by 1 ripping up to the point just above shaping your armholes. So what I did here was bind off all the stitches. When I was done with the ripping, I did the same for the back, but I'll just talk about the front since that's what you can see right now. I had to bind off all the stitches. The reason being that I wanted to create this line here. So you bind off all the stitches and then pick up the same number of stitches through the back loop, so that the front loop remains and forms this very steady line at the front. So that's the whole purpose of that line. I came up with this idea when I was working on the Tisetso cardigan in 2020. This was designed in 2021. So it really works well when you want to separate 2 stitches. I had so much, it wasn't so much fun, but I had so much fun working on it for the second time, and I didn't have to figure things out. The first time it was a bit frustrating, but the second time when I was working on the Namisa top, it was a lot of fun because I already knew that this concept actually works when I want to separate the 2 stitches, the 2 stitch patterns. So I did the bind off and then picked up all the stitches through the back loop. And then at this point, you actually do some rapid increases to form this gathered fabric here, and the looseness of the garment is actually met at this point. So once the shaping of the underarm is done, join in the round and knit in the round until you get to a few inches before your desired length. Then there at the bottom I did some short row shaping, and it wasn't just a few short rows but really a lot, I think about 2 inches, so I could create a longer fabric at the back than at the front. So I've noticed that with most of these flared tops and loose tops, they look so much nicer if the back is longer, particularly with the heavier fabric than this, because when I tried it on before shaping the back and including short rows, I didn't really like the look that much. It was just too straight across, and it made the back look like it could ride up if you moved around too much. So I decided to do the shaping and include up to, I think it's almost 2 inches of short rows, and by doing that the garment is much longer at the back than it is at the front, and I really liked the look of that. In the bottom I just did some ribbing, and you have to bind off loosely. So with the bottom ribbing, as you can see the shape of the garment, it's very important to use the same needle size as you did for the body of the top, unlike some regular sweaters where most people got down some needle sizes to do the ribbing. With this one you actually have to work with the same needle size and then do a very loose bind off so that it can flare out at the bottom without any restraints from smaller needles or a very tight bind off. So that's the most important thing with this top. And then I just picked up the stitches to do some very short ribbing. You know, it's a summer top, I didn't want to make it thick, so mostly with summer tops I don't like using ribbing, but in this case it was the most ideal, given that the top section of the top was already in 1x1 ribbing anyway. So I just did a very short ribbing for the armholes and for the neck, and that's it with the making of this garment. So the needles that I used for the ribbing, I used 4mm needles or US size 6, and then for the stockinette section I used US size 7 or 4.5mm needles. It really works out quite fast. I didn't think it was going to work as fast as it did. And then the one mistake that I made with this was that I didn't alternate my balls of yarn. So this yarn is hand painted, so it's not even, the colors are not even throughout the skeins. So what I should have done was to actually alternate them, but I didn't. So you'll see there's a line that separates the shades of yarn. It was so frustrating when I found out, but I had done a lot of knitting and I wasn't prepared to start afresh. And well, there's a part of me that didn't mind, but ideally I would have loved for everything to blend nicely and just fit perfectly fine. So for anyone who will be using any nurturing fibers, eco cotton yarn, it's very important to alternate your balls of yarn, and that is not just for the speckled yarns but for the solid colors as well. I made that mistake the very same year, I think, with a vest that I did. I also didn't alternate some skeins, some balls of yarn, and I had some drama there with the, you know, solid line cutting across the middle of the vest. But I've learned my lesson now. Whenever I use this type of yarn, I alternate my balls of yarn and it works just fine. So that's all that I wanted to share about this top. It's a very quick and easy one to knit, and I think it's a very cool addition to the wardrobe. I wear it a lot, and we're getting towards the end of summer right now, and I'm really enjoying wearing it, and I'm looking forward to wearing it for even much longer. The yarn is durable, doesn't peel, and it really stands the test of time, I think. So thank you so much for watching. I'll just include all the links to this pattern. It's available on Ravelry and on Etsy. I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.